Much as I thought I could plan a podcast, that is not going to happen. I do not have the mindset to sit here, chop up block for block, how I'm going to tell you about weight loss and weight gain. Good morning on this December 12, 2021. The time is 9:21 a.m. and welcome to Early in the AM with Ish, Speak Up 3. And my topic for this morning is about self-love versus self-hate. Seeing one isn't so prevalent without the other. Yes, self-love can be destructive to some people. I love myself, so I'm about to go get all this plastic surgery, or I'm about to change my face, my gender, my boobs, my body, so I can fit a certain image I have for myself. And I guess that's where self-hate comes in. Because self-hate can distort your reality. It can take what God meant for you or what your parents meant for you and what society maybe trained you into for a certain next level in life, and that level either never came or you never pursued it, and your self-image will twist and distort. And what you call self-love is adhering to this new version of yourself that you're trying to become. And in loving yourself and taking care of yourself and nurturing yourself, you'll alter your looks, you'll change everything about you. And not in expecting life to understand, but you want us to know that you're having a human experience. And that term I learned from watching Dave Chappelle's The Last Stand, when he talked about his friend Daphne, who had committed suicide. She just wanted not for you to understand why she was transgender, but just to understand that she was having a human experience. And that's what it comes down to. Are these human experiences? And if society wasn't as advanced as it was in technology and medical science, biology and earth science and things of that nature, these people wouldn't be able to alter themselves to look like whatever the image they see in their minds. Most time, if I saw myself as a certain thing, if the technology wasn't there, I wouldn't be able to change it. I would have to live with it. And that decodes the essence of misery and depression. These are defense mechanisms for not people who are medically sick, but for those who need such downgrades to keep themselves out of the self-love, self-hate loop. Like my mom always say to me, you don't get over it. So what? You want to look like, you want bigger boobs, or you want to change your gender. Get over it. Be what God made you, die what God made you, and leave the rest at that. I mean, it does sound mean. But imagine somebody like me having all these preferences to be different in life and then having to ignore them as the simple want of the spirit or want of the brain. You look at monks of the world, Stoics and historians and philosophers and monks. You think about what images may have permeated them. And from the beginning of time in their position to even now, they haven't really changed much. They don't really change their lifestyle. I'm sure all of these differences pass through them. At some point, they may have felt homosexuality or feelings of that nature. They may have felt like they wanted to change their gender, or such is the way of capitalism. Do you think such a changing dynamic in statehood could permeate into a person's sexuality and make them want to be a different version of themselves? Can money do that? Money can do that. You can't do it without money. So you kind of want to take a step back and think, has money permeated the spirit enough to warrant these feelings to the surface and encourage such self-love, self-hate dynamics? And it's true. Not that I am a monk. I mean, I have a lot more delving into myself to do to be of such, but there's a lot of feelings I've crossed in my life and a lot of images I've had for myself that simply by accepting depression and mediating the will accordingly, I passed the image on. I didn't accept it. Is this possible for the modern generation? Or are we going to be so free in our liberties and things of that nature? Are we, going to keep tapping into this deeper and deeper? So, oh, my dog needs plastic surgery, or I want to be a dog now. And then all of a sudden, we're turning our arms and legs into, four legs where we can run and crawl like, animals. I'm not sure if you could have wings put on your back so you could come up and fly. I mean, just the merging of the image to the social standard. And this is permeating from within. One of the most sacred places in human life is your inner voice. I mean, democracy encourages that to a point where they don't want you in control of that in front of people, but at the same time, they encourage you to express it, which can be the most dangerous thing. Give you all these ways to self-express, especially if we're, what do you call that, the supernatural law of destruction, or what God said is man's initial flaw from Adam and Eve in the garden. It talks about in the Bible how we're inherently crooked at birth or evil by nature because of something Adam and Eve did all those millennia ago. And the supernatural law of destruction, I don't know if it was written by me, but I definitely gave it a definition. Definition is not destruction. It's not something calculated. It's not perfection at all. There's no such thing as it's not even, it's not equal, or any of these things. You can't put destruction in a 4x4 box and expect it to stay within those lines. Or can you? I think once destruction can be manipulated like that, to explode or destroy only in a certain area, now you have issues with free will. You're going to have issues with self-image, self-hate, self-love. When they switch places and you don't really know which one is which. You're like, am I self-loving me? Am I self-hating? Like, which one is it? I think you got to pin that against, like I said before, about corruption. You can't have corruption without something being faithful. And then you got to look at what is faithful in the world. People call dog man's best friend. Well, dog can't be the standard for man to base against corruption, because dogs are not on two legs making human decisions. So you can't pin that on animal. You have to pin it on something else that's making two-legged decisions. So you got to look at aspects of life that are similar to what we would feel are man's best friend. Something similar to what faithfulness is. Besides, you can't look at Christianity. You got to look at people outside of the loop. Not necessarily, excuse me, the hungry and those desperate for sustenance in life, because they'll corrupt because of hunger. I mean, you could look at a monk, somebody who intentionally stays to the natural way of God and the natural way of man, and lives very simplicity without the corruption of devices or running after money and capitalism. I mean, if you look at a monk and say, okay, this is what faithfulness is, you have an idea of what corruption might be. And then you can look at a monk and say, in your eyes, or in your reflection, or your image of God, your imago Dei, I see myself, but then I see this plate on my head with all these images that I think I should be, or I think I am. And if I delve into that and I do that, and you can easily have that same feeling and then meditate it away, where is this, now I'm back at that place again. Is it our job to fix or to put some type of cultural line there to say, okay, we're delving too deep because there's no mediator here? I don't want to mediate. I want to be free. It's like free, again, is a right of property. Have you earned that right to be free? Or are you just coasting by on not necessarily the actual property, but you got quotes. You got quotes that say, you could afford this, but you don't necessarily have a property. You haven't applied for the debt. The right of property is a debt within yourself. Being free and having a debt is not the same thing. Managing a debt freely is one thing. But if you're just on your freedom because of a quote or you feel you can do what you want to do, that's different. You're going to come into a debt that'll probably jeopardize the truest meaning for property ownership or the debt that's meant for you. You want to go out and being transgender, you feel free. Like, I feel like the freest version of myself. I was like, that's your debt that you're owning. That's your exchange in life. That's your property management there. And then from that, you'll make all of the decisions. But just knowing that that little boy you gave up on or that little girl you gave up on because of your spirit's transcendence could have been calling you to the outskirts to be a monk, to show the rest of the world how to be this way or how to be that way. But you took it upon your self-entrance, which the self-love versus the self-hate, and now you get to live your truest self. At the upper echelons of human science and transferability and you're transcending science with it. You're testing out your deepest wants and you're using the most advanced technologies to do it. And then you have people who have simpler wants and there's no fixing what they need to be fixed, and that encourages jealousy. They can go to a monk to change what their issue is, but the shatterness of it, the destructive nature of it, is not equal or even. Scientists can't go in and operate on their spirits and change their drinking or abusive habits. They try to mediate them as they are, but they keep just putting band-aids on cracks that keep appearing. How do you fix that? You have people like me who try to put a natural sway to an orbiting planet, some type of running water that the cracks can emulate so they can see a pattern in the abuses and then try to fix it that way. It's different. Can you blame the transgender community for not taking the initial call, for not abandoning the social hood and becoming like a monk and saying not that you're abandoning your right to be who you are, but can you sacrifice that right to help other people who are at a larger number in need of other things so they could lead by your example? The world doesn't teach you that. Earth tries to teach you that, but God, in essence, in his absence, cannot teach you that. It's only mankind following his word and trying to emulate that power to teach you to go the right way. But a lot of people within the lines of supernatural destruction refuse to believe the abandonment principle. If I had okay, I want to become a man. And it's eating at me since I was a kid to become a man, just like a monk is a child and it's eating at him to become a monk. It's the same type of desire for a change that's totally against something. It's totally against a fact or it's totally against the self. Anything that I would say is totally against your natural fact of being. You'll feel better if you do it this way. Not that you're wrong. But in the cups of that belief of you being different from who you are, there's a choice of you settling down and putting your bosom, your gut, and your soul plate underneath that decision. And defying your member and refusing to give it its solace, you're accepting the miserableness and the depression. It'll turn into something else. It'll become a mirror. And in that mirror, you'll see millions of people flock to you to say, oh my God, this is where I can see what I'm doing wrong, because you have a totality in you that you've ignored. And I'm not in my totality